Okay, now we're gonna have some fun and actually model together. You're gonna follow along as I model this window because currently it's not there and it needs to be there. Okay, so let's just isolate just that piece there, and we're gonna put a window into here with frame and all. Okay, and I'll show you that again, just using basic poly modeling, we can make a really advanced model. And the important thing here is that we just pay attention to detail, because we're going to try and model this scene as if we can set up a camera anywhere in the scene, and no matter what we're looking at, it's going to be high quality and photorealistic. The only thing I'm not modeling is the other room that's behind me. Other than that, we want everything to kind of be high quality. So if we want a shot that's looking at this window, which I sort of do, we need to make this window look really good, and it'll make the light coming through the window look a lot more realistic than just having a big blank spot here, obviously. So again, we can just do a sweep. Let's do that. Let's just use one of these standard bars in here. And this will just give us the basic frame. Again, with the sweep, we don't want to smooth the path, and it's a little bit thick for us. So let's do... Okay, now an important thing here is going to be, let's make it a little less wide too. Oh yeah, much less wide. Actually, there, and then we'll just slide it to the outside. Okay, there. So there's a basic frame. An important thing here is going to be to look at reference images. So I'm going to go ahead and find those, bring them up on the internet, and then we're just going to carefully try to model a fancy looking multi-pane window here based on those images. Okay, I've found some images, no great ones, but this is basically the kind of look I want to get right here. I think I'll do a double window with a column in the middle and make them double hung. That's okay. So they'll have tracks on the side. One will be offset from the other, and they'll have these actual, and they'll look kind of like this with the actual window panes going on here. Actual separated glass in the window. And yeah, so that's a close-up. Obviously, it's not going to look that antique because we're doing more of a fancy scene. These are more modern windows, although that's the kind of look I want. But we want the fancy kind, the actual divided light windows. Okay, and we could search a lot, but this is a pretty good reference. Really, we just have to understand the construction of the window and then just build these things, and we should have a pretty nice detailed window. So back in here, let's divide this into... Let's just take this and isolate it. Let's divide this into two areas by putting a rectangle. We'll convert that to edit poly. And we'll split it right down the middle by doing a connect. Now we've got our two different areas of the window. Now from the inside, let's set this to 2.5D. Okay. From the inside, let's see, what will we do here? Let's just start creating some geometry. Let's say inset both of these by polygon, like that. Then we'll extrude, inset, apply, extrude. Let's extrude that back about that far. We can detach those two rectangles. We're just going to build a frame here. Okay, so there's a basic frame. Let's put some tracks in there for those windows so they can kind of sit in there. I think what that construction would look like is something like you'd have a track for one window, and then maybe a small something like that, and then the other window. Something like that. This actually might be a lot smaller. Let's even out all our lines here. Yeah, and then what we'll do is round some of these edges so that we don't have perfectly crisp edges, because again, we're paying attention to detail, trying to put slight details in that add realism. So let's chamfer those edges a little bit. Just ever so slightly. Okay, that can give us our profile for a sweep, move that up into place here in our frame, we'll actually take, I think that sweep would go all the way around a window like this. Let's again use our trusty sweep command, use a custom shape, pick our little shape here to make our window track area. Make sure the smoothing is right. It is. Let's move that into place. Make sure the settings on you can see that it's not in line with where I wanted it, so you can use this to put it in line. Okay, now move it into place like so, right about there probably. Make sure our profiles are looking good. Yeah, that's pretty good. And we might want this actually to be thicker in the center. Let's move it 1 inch over by right clicking, 1 inch in the X direction. Move this -1 inch in the X direction. There we go. -1 inch in the X direction, and then take this and we'll adjust our sweep to fit in there properly. And we'll just do this on one window obviously, so that then we can instance it to the other window. Okay, so there's our track for our window. Now let's build one window. Again, we can get the right size by creating a poly here, splitting it in half. Connect. Now if we take just this one part here and build a window out of it, let's delete that part. We know it's going to be exactly half the width that it needs to fill up. Okay, now with just this one window, this should be pretty easy. What we can do is, let's see, what's the best way to do this? We can either shell it now and give it some depth, or we can create the face of it and do that later. Let's see, I think it's easiest to create it like this. And again, we can just do add some edges into here. I'm using Swift Loop again. And probably right about there. Let's see, maybe those edges need to be a little wider. Something like that. Okay, so there's the basic shape of the window, and then we'll cut it into various different window panes by using the connect tool. So get us an even split. We'll want 2 connections along there and 1 connection along this side. Okay, very nice. Now let's see, I think what we'll do here is take this polygon, or these polygons, and inset them a little bit. Do it by individual polygon, like that. Make it a little less, like that. Let's drag that this way a little bit. Does that work? Yeah. That's looking good. And then you can extrude it in. And then what you can do is, let's do one more extrusion like that. And then just delete those edges. Now one thing I want to do is take these ones here, this line, and this line, loop it. Oh, it's not going to let me loop it, but it's just these ones here. Guess that's not a loop at this point. Okay, let's just manually select those ones, and those ones, holding down Control to select multiples. And then I'm going to chamfer those to kind of flatten out that edge so we don't have a sharp edge in the front. That should look like that. Okay, that's a pretty nice window there. Now, obviously, we need some thickness to the window. So let's take the border, the open border, hold down Shift as we drag to create new geometry. If you didn't catch that, we're selecting a border, which is open edges, making sure we're dragging in the Y direction only, and holding down Shift. That's giving that window thickness. Now the only other thing I'm going to do is take, again, the border. I'm going to select these borders in here. And then hold down Control while I switch to face, okay. And then I'm going to extrude those faces in on themselves using the local normal, like that. Okay, can you see what that's doing? Let's go over here. It's taking them and creating a little slot for our glass to sit in. Okay, so this might be going a little overboard on the detail, but it's okay. All right, so the profile looks like that. And then what I'm going to do is just mirror this using a symmetry modifier. Okay, and we want to go and take our mirror line and go like this, rotate it, going into sub-object mode of symmetry, rotating this, and then we want to flip it. Nope, we don't want to flip it. Yes, we do. So we want the mirror to be right in that groove we created for the mirror, for the glass. So put it right about there and then flip. Now we've got thickness to our window. And perhaps it's too much thickness because those stiles and rails look a little too bulky at this point. But that's okay. Let's just convert that now to an edit poly. Oh, actually, no. Leave the symmetry there. Go out of sub-object mode. Take the vertices. Let's see, we don't want these ones. And then we can, let's show the finished result here. And as we have that showing, we can drag in to make our stiles and rails the right size. Or what do you call those on the Windows? Muntins? Anyway, whatever those things are called. And there you have it. Okay, so finished window looks like that. Let's see if it'll fit into our track here. Probably not. Still a little too thick, right? So let's center it right on there. Let's do the same thing again. Move those vertices even more. So it fits right into that track. And there you have it. Now we can create some little pieces of glass to fit in there. And we've got a nice window.